Hello and welcome to the Introduction to cPanel. cPanel is a graphical, web-based web hosting control panel designed to simplify administration of websites. You might even hear the term GUI used from time to time to describe cPanel, and basically that just stands for Graphical User Interface. Now all this stuff means is that cPanel has a bunch of easy to recognize images to show off the different applications. Now, we're going to check these out here in just a second. Now, I'm going to guess that you already have a domain name and a web hosting account, and that web hosting account offers cPanel and not Plesk or some other type of custom control panel. Now, you can access your cPanel control panel a couple of different ways, but you're going to need to go to your browser, and in this instance, you're going to enter your domain name /cPanel, that's C-P-A-N-E-L, and then we're going to log in with the username and password that was sent to us by our web hosting company in that first email we got when we first bought the service. Let's go ahead and do that first. Now I've got two different tabs here because these two tabs represent two different web hosting companies that I use. And that's going to demonstrate the different look or the different applications available depending upon the web hosting company you use. So in this case we've got our domain name in there, /. Well, you'd think I've done this before. And then type in C-P-A-N-E-L. And had I not just logged in earlier, I would have been presented with a login box. Let me go ahead and log out like this. And in this case, I would enter the username and the password that I received in that initial email from that web hosting service. Now, as you can see up here in the browser bar, we've got this little padlock and the HTTPS. That signifies that we are logged in securely. Now let's do the same thing over here, and a different way to log in is you type in the domain name in the browser bar like we've got there, and instead of a / in cPanel, we put a colon, that's the two dots, and then a number, either 2082, that's the unsecure login, or 2083, like this, and that's the secure login method. So let's try the 2082. And we're presented with a box, and even this one looks a little bit different than the box presented to us on that other company. And here we are. Now, another thing, in addition to being logged in not securely, which is fine for the most part, we're also left with our domain name in the browser bar. Whereas with this one here, that's logged in, or in this case, not logged in, but if it were logged in securely, it would have the server name instead of the domain name in the browser bar. Let's go ahead and log out of here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Just 2083. And we're presented with the login box where we put the username and the password. Log in. And here we are with the padlock and the HTTPS and the server name. No longer is it showing the domain name. So those are the different ways in which you can log in. Now another way, which really isn't a way that's used very often, at least ways by me, and that is by using the IP address that is initially given to you when you first sign up with that hosting account. Because whenever you first sign up with a hosting account, you're providing them, for the most part, with a domain name that they can then attach to that hosting account. Now, instead of that domain name being immediately accessible to that hosting account, because it's got to propagate, as they call it, through the internet first, which can take a couple of days or so, instead of waiting for that, they give you, they being the web hosting company, give you an IP address that you can use to log in. Now, no matter how you log in, you're going to be presented with the same homepage, the same interface. And what's going to be different, though, whether you're logged in securely or not, let's go ahead and log into here real quick. So whether you're logged in not securely or securely, you're going to be presented with the same front page, the same interface. What's going to be different, though, is the applications available, again, depending upon the web hosting service you're using. For example, just at a quick glance, if I toggle back and forth between the two, you'll see that one difference is right in here, where on this account, I'm given this particular application, R1 Soft Restore Backups, and that's not available on this one. But on this one, I've got, what is that, Anonymous FTP, but not on this one. No Anonymous FTP on this one. So again, it just depends. The thing though is that if you see an application or you encounter an application either through this video or another video or some other means, and it's something that you might be interested in using, simply contact your web hosting company and tell them, hey, what's the worst that's going to happen? They'll say no. But a similarity between cPanels, no matter what hosting account you're going to have, is the setup. You're going to have different panels with these different applications here. And on the left side, you're going to have a column of information, the stats, and you're going to have frequently accessed areas, which you can zip to by just clicking on the links here. These are areas that I've been frequently accessing, and you can do a search here, and there might be some notices in here too. Basically, I find this is more of an advertising area than anything else for the web hosting company. But under the stats here, be familiarized with what is available here, because in some scripts that you're going to use, they might require you to know the path to SendMail or the path to Perl. So at least ways now you know where it is. You may not have to ever know what it is, but at least now you know where it is in case you need to know. And you can collapse those stats, which is usually the case by default. Now over here under the different panels you've got, you can drag these back and forth to your own personal preference. So speaking of preferences, if you find that you never use this one, stick that puppy down at the very bottom. Put one of the more frequently accessed panels closer to the top. Again, just for convenience, just for personal taste. Totally up to you. And you can also collapse these guys just to get them out of the way, like so. And that's going to bring us to the end of this video on an introduction to cPanel. Thank you very much for watching, and you have a great day. In this video, we're going to create an email account for our domain name. In the Mail panel here, you just click on the email accounts, this guy right here, and then you enter the name for your email address right here. And if you've got several domain names assigned to this particular cPanel account, you'll have a drop-down box here, at which point you simply select the domain name that you want to create this email address for. Now, myself, I always create at least 3 email accounts for every one of my domain names. And this is just for me, but with a lot of different web hosting accounts, you can have an unlimited number of emails. Let's back up here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Over here on the left panel, under email accounts, you'll see here where I've got an unlimited number available. And currently, I've got only 3 of those unlimited created. So if we come on back here into email accounts, the ones that I create for every one of my domain names is name, that would be my name, at, then the domain name. Another one is sales, at, then the domain name. And the third one is support, at, then the domain name. Now, like with this particular web hosting account, I can have as many different email accounts as I want. So for example, if I were to hire some outsourcing work, I can assign an email account for that particular person or persons. And once they've completed their task, then I can just come in and delete that particular email account. So in this case, let's go ahead and add Joe at this domain name, give it a password, and I'm going to use the password generator because that's usually pretty solid. Just copy this. And you can always hit this generate password to change this, and you want to tick that box there. And you've got some advanced options here, but that's a little beyond the scope of this video. Go ahead and click on use password, and be sure and paste that or save that password somewhere because that's going to come in pretty handy later on. Now here under the mailbox quota, you can either go with the default amount, or you can choose unlimited, or you can adjust this. Now you can always come back later on and adjust this if you find that you're using close to or getting ready to exceed the mailbox quota space that you've allotted yourself here. So really that's why I always go with unlimited, but that's just me. Then just click on create account. Now you see I've already got an error here because that one already exists. Anyway, that's how you go about creating it, and you know now what will happen if you try to create 2 email accounts with the same name. That said, you can always come in here and change the password. You can change the quota right here. That's what I was talking about here. And you can always just delete it here. Let's go ahead and see what's under the more options. Oh yeah, you can access the webmail account, and you can configure an email client. This email client they're referring to here is kind of like your Outlook Express, or I think that might even be gone now, Windows Live Mail, or like in my case, I use Thunderbird, which is made by the folks that create Firefox. So we take a look at the access webmail. Tell you what, let's come on back here for a second. That would be this right here. Now, I don't use these myself because, like I said, I use Firefox. But anytime that you create an email account, they're automatically viewable here in any one of these because they all show the same thing. They just show them in different ways. For example, under Horde, this was probably the more powerful of the three. Click on Login. I say powerful because it also allows you to create filters, which is a little beyond the scope of this video, but you can create filters, you can do all kinds of stuff here. But here's where you can look at the inbox, the messages that have come in here, and these are the same things that would show up in my Firefox or my Outlook Express or my Outlook or Windows Live Mail or whatever third-party email client you might use. So we come on back here. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and get out of here altogether. If we were to take a look at the email account, then come on down here to configure email client. In the event you were going to use this with like Windows Live Mail or Outlook 2000 or Outlook Express, then you've got the ability to do so right here. They can walk you through the entire setup process, and you've got all the details over here that you're going to need to be able to effectively activate that third-party email client. And there's a lot of other things you can do by creating additional email addresses. For example, you might be able to set up autoresponders or mailing lists set upon a particular email address that you create here. And that's going to bring us to the end of this video on creating an email account. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. In this video, I want to talk to you about creating email forwarders. And in the mail panel of your cPanel control panel, what we're talking about is these guys right here, forwarders. Now, while there may be several different reasons why you would want to create a forwarder of your email accounts, my main reason is time, saving time. Time is money, so in this case, I'm going to be saving money too. Now, as far as the forwarders, basically, what I mean by that is that I've got several domains, and each domain I have at least 3 email addresses assigned to that one domain. My name, sales, and support. Now, there may be several other emails, but that would just save me that much more time if I were to forward those also. So I forward each and every one of my emails to a main email account, and that main email account is kind of a catch-all for all my emails. So I need to go to one email address to check my emails, not a bazillion different email addresses, which takes a lot of time. Now, these forwarders, they allow me to see not just the email, but the email address they were sent to. So whenever I reply, then that reply comes from that particular email address, not from the one they were forwarded to. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, that's pretty much the why. Let's go ahead and tackle the how. Go ahead and click on the forwarders link. It's very simple too, by the way. Now, of course, to do this, you have to already have the email addresses created, which is done by clicking on the email account link here. So once you've got your email addresses created and you want to forward them to a different email address, click on Add Forwarder. Choose that email address that you've created, and if you've got several different domains, then you want to make sure you've got the right domain and the right email address that you're going to be forwarding. And this is my name at my domain name, and I'm going to forward it to my main Gmail account. Assuming, of course, that would be my main Gmail account. Click on Add Forwarder, and it's done. That's how simple it is. And it shows right here what is taking place. Now, if we go back, there'll be a running list of all the email forwarders that you create here. You can use the trace link, and you can delete them. Now, if you wanted to just not worry about individual email addresses to be forwarded, you can just forward all of them that are assigned to a particular domain name using this option right here, the Add Domain Forwarder. The process is basically the same as adding a forwarder to an individual email address, only this way you're doing it to everything that might come into that domain in the form of an email. And that is how you create an email forwarder. In this video, I want to show you how to create a Gmail account, otherwise known as a Google email account. And there's a lot of reasons why you would want to do this, besides the fact that Gmail is simply free. By having a Google account, whether it's Gmail, as I'm going to show you here, or AdWords or AdSense or some other Google account, it opens the doors for you to be able to use a lot of different applications that are free if you got a Gmail or some other type of Google account. Applications like the Google Drive or the Calendar or Google Docs and so many more. So let's go ahead and go to Gmail or Google Mail. There we are, mail.google.com. And we want to create an account. And you may encounter different ways in which you can do this, but this is just one way. So we need to enter our name first and last, choose a username, and one tip here is that if you have a domain name, you may want to try putting that domain name in here so you have a Gmail account that can be used in conjunction with your domain name and email accounts with your domain name. Then we just throw in the password, confirm the password, put in your birthday, month, day, and year, and your gender, mobile phone if you want. If you don't have a mobile phone, just leave it blank. Put in your current email address. And frankly, in here, I just put in my main email address. And then just to prove that you're not a robot, you got this little CAPTCHA stuff to put in here. And then the location. Click on that box there to agree to the terms of service. And then click on the next step. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video real quick while I fill out all this stuff here. As you can see, it's very straightforward stuff. The only hiccup might be your desired username might already be chosen by somebody else. So again, just play around with it. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here for a second while I fill in the blanks. Let's go ahead and throw in a hard to guess password. And if you want to use this alongside of a Google +1 account, then you make sure that box is checked. And as you saw, it's checked by default. So I'd say go ahead and leave it checked. Click on next step and see if we got everything right on this page. And we did. There's our new Gmail account right there. And we click on this here. It'll take us to the next page where we're logging in. And you got your welcome emails. And if you've got the time, I would say go through the process here to learn more in the Help Center and throughout all the Gmail stuff, more about what you can use your Gmail account for. That's going to bring us to the end of this video on creating a Gmail account. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. Hi, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can quickly and easily create an email forwarder within your Gmail account. Now, once you've logged into your Google account, and in this case, I've logged in using my Gmail account, then you come on over here and you click on Gmail, if you haven't already done so. And once you're in your Gmail account, come on over here to this little gear thingy, click on that. You got a drop down that shows up, go to settings, click on that. And right up here, you want to go to forwarding and pop/IMAP. Click on that, click on add a forwarding address. Type in the address that you want all of your Gmail that comes to this particular email account. Type in the address you want those to be forwarded to. Click on next. See how simple that was? Now, that's how easy it is. So just using this as a demonstration, you want to make sure that the address you put in that forwarding box is one that you own. But you can see here, though, that you can also resend that, or you can remove it and put in a different one, which naturally, if I were doing this for real, that's what I would do. So once you've confirmed that by clicking on the link that was sent to that email address, then all the incoming email to this particular Gmail account will now be sent to that email account. It doesn't have to be Gmail. It can be any email account that you own. Now, why would you want to have your emails forwarded? Well, several different reasons. My main reason is that I have several different Gmail accounts, and this way I do not have to log into each and every one of those Gmail accounts to see if I've got new mail. I log into one main Gmail account, or non-Gmail account for that matter, and all of my emails can be seen right there. Again, whether they're Gmail accounts or non-Gmail accounts. And whenever I reply to the people that sent me the email, it's being replied from that particular email account, not the main one. So that way I'm not confusing the people that sent me that email to gardenmaker.com@gmail.com. I'm not confusing them by them receiving an email from joe@gmail.com. They're receiving an email from this email address, even though I'm composing that email from joe@gmail.com. That's going to bring us to the end of this video on creating forwarding email addresses. Thank you very much for watching. You have a great day. In this video, I want to talk to you about your logs panel in your cPanel control panel. Now, I've got two different tabs opened up here to represent two different web hosting accounts and the cPanel control panels within them. For example, this one here, if you go down and look at the logs panel, you can see we've got a few different options available here. But in this one, still cPanel, it's just a different web hosting account. You can see that there are different options available here, or applications. So if your control panel doesn't look exactly like one of these, don't worry. The basics that you really want to pay attention to under the logs panel is the latest visitors, bandwidth, and your AW stats, as well as your error log. Those are more than likely in every single cPanel setup on any type of web hosting account that offers cPanel. Again, latest visitor, AW stats, bandwidth, and error log. The error log mainly because if you have errors on your website, like broken links for example, then this can let you see them very quickly. No errors here, but that's mainly because there's no site there either. Let me take a look over at this other one here, and under error logs, and here's the information provided in most of these error logs. You've got the date that the error took place, you've got the IP address of the visitor that noticed the error, you've got the error right here, which in this case is I believe a 404, and you got different types of errors that take place. But if we use this top one here, if we scroll on over, this gives you the path to the actual error itself and the page or file that is causing the error. So with this information, you can quickly get in and fix that error. So we come on back out of here, head on back over to home. That's the error log. The latest visitors gives you the IP address of that visitor, the page that they went to, the time they went there, the size of that file, where they came from, and the user agent, which is typically the browser that they're using. And we come on back here, go to home, and the bandwidth is something that you can monitor here in detail over here on the left panel. Usually it's right up here close to the top. Monthly bandwidth transfer. This gives you an idea as to how much bandwidth is being used throughout the month. So at this point, obviously, there's not much to worry about because there's hardly anything. There's nothing actually even registering, because as the usage takes place, you'll get a color guide here to kind of let you know at a quick glance if you are okay, or if it's getting into the red close to the end here, that you need to make some adjustments. But that's the monthly transfer right there at a glance, and to get the details, you click on the bandwidth link there, and this can give you the traffic for today, for the past 7 days, the past 12 months, and this information can come in very handy, especially if you're running campaigns or you've got product launches, and you can get an idea as to how much bandwidth you might need for your next campaign or your next product launch, so that you're not having your visitors seeing an error page, bandwidth exceeded, which is never a good thing, and that will definitely put a damper on your day. Here's the breakdown of this month for the HTTP usage. The three options here are pretty much your email stuff, and then the FTP, and then the combined matches that total bandwidth that I just showed you in that left column on the front page. So that's the bandwidth. If we come on back home here and we check the most important one, in my humble opinion anyway, and that's the AW stats. This gives you a breakdown of all the traffic coming into your website, and you can choose the date right here for the particular report. Now, the reports or the information contained down here are broken down in different ways. You've got the monthly history, days of the month, and you can see the traffic here. And again, these can come in very handy if you are doing any type of product launches or campaigns to generate income. This can tell you how successful that was in driving traffic to a particular page or site, and the days of the week that are most effective to do so. I mean, if you alternate your campaigns on various days of the week, this information might tell you what would be a better day or what would be the worst days to try to start a campaign. Even the hours of the day. If you're trying to set up email marketing, you might find that sending out or scheduling your emails to be sent out at 11 a.m. might be a lot better than, say, at 7 a.m. And this takes everything into consideration, including the countries that are visiting your site. Now, since this is more of a demonstration site, these numbers are going to be skewed accordingly. At least ways now you know where you can go to get more information on the traffic coming into your site. And you've got a lot of information over here to the side that you can just simply click on to see if robots are visiting, if authenticated users are visiting, the countries, the days of the week. These are pretty much the breakdown of what we've already seen up here. You can scroll on down further to get even more information. And they all pretty much coincide with these clickable links over here. Click on this and it'll take you to this section of the report right here. So as you can see, all info junkies will love the free AW stats that come with your cPanel control panel. That's going to bring us to the end of this video on the logs panel in your cPanel control panel. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. Hi, in this video I want to talk to you about the security panel. Let's go ahead and scroll down and grab this guy right here in the title bar where you get the 4 arrows. Left click, hold, and drag that guy up to the top of the page here, so I don't have to keep scrolling down. Let's do that with this other web hosting account as well. And by the way, if you didn't know, now you do. You can in fact customize the look of your home page on your cPanel account. Now that here we've got these various applications within our security panel. The first one over here is password protect directories. Comes in pretty handy if you've got sensitive material, kind of like maybe zip files that you are marketing. And you don't want just anybody to be able to have access to those unless, of course, they've paid you for that access. Well, here you can put all of those zip files or other items you want to keep protected. You can put them in a directory or folder and make sure that that is password protected. And then you just simply email that username and password to the people you want to have access. IP Deny Manager. I myself like to avoid this, but it is there in case you want to use it. What this does, if we click on this link here, this allows you to deny access to your website files by people associated with a particular IP address. Now, let me just try to explain a little bit about an IP address. Where a home address would tell you where a particular person lives, an IP address is more like the zip code where a lot of people live. So if you were to use an IP address to block access for a specific person, well, you may block access for that specific person, but also everybody else that uses that particular IP address or range. And for that matter, they can probably get around it if they know what they're doing by using a proxy IP address. That's way beyond the scope of this video. Basically, what I'm saying is that for somebody that knows what they're doing, an IP deny manager really is not going to do much good. So where this might come into play is if maybe your customers or the visitors to your site are predominantly US or Canadian or European, you can put in an IP range for countries that you do not want to have access to your site because they could not be your customers for one reason or another. Then you might assign an IP range like what is shown here to assist in blocking anybody from that country or that region from having access to your files. So really that would be the only benefit I could see behind using an IP deny feature, but it is here just in case you wanted to. Let's head on back to home. Now you've got the SSL and the TLS manager. This allows you to generate and manage SSL certificates, keys, and signing requests. Now all of these are part of making your website more secure, kind of like this guy right up here. To be able to have your URL do this, where you got this little padlock thingy on the HTTPS, you need to have what's called an SSL certificate. And frankly, for me, it's pretty time consuming to not only learn this, but it's even time consuming once you've learned it to do it. I myself would rather spend a couple of bucks and it might even be somewhere between 20 to 50 bucks to have your web hosting service do this for you. And some might not even charge you anything to do this for you if you purchase your certificate from them. So if you click on this, just real quick, like you can see where you can generate your private key, your certificate signing request, and your certificates themselves. But again, this is something that I would be more apt to leave to the web hosting companies. They would take a day or two to do it, but that day or two you can spend doing something else that might generate you money instead of spending money. But at least now you know where that information lies in case it's something you want to check into, or if somebody has a question about your SSL certificate, you might be able to find an answer there. Now, SSH or shell access. The SSH stands for Secure Shell, which is basically a network protocol, kind of like FTP. Only this guy here is a lot more secure than your typical FTP transfers. So with an SSH access, instead of using a username and a password that you do with an FTP setup, with these guys here, you're using a public key and a private key. Now with the correct keys, networked devices can then exchange or transfer data back and forth. And we take a look at this real quick. You can see here you've got a little video tutorial to kind of guide you through this stuff. And right here is where you can go into manage your private and public keys. Come on back home here. Hotlink protection comes in pretty handy if you have, say, images, for example, on your website that you don't want people to steal, or maybe if they do steal them, no big deal, but you at least don't want them to be sucking up your bandwidth. So if they're going to steal them, they should at least steal them and put them on their own server instead of using your bandwidth in the process. Let's take a look at this real quick, because sometimes there's not much you can do about people taking your stuff, but for them to take your stuff and to steal your bandwidth in the process, that's like a double slap in the face. So here's how you can protect your bandwidth. You may not be able to protect your stuff, but you can at least protect your bandwidth by enacting or enabling the hotlink protection. You put in the URLs here to allow access, and here you can create a page, an HTML page for example, that says something to the effect of, this person does not have authorization to provide you with the image that should show here. If you want to see that particular image, go to the authorized URL and then just put that URL on there. Again, whatever you want to put in here, if you want to put anything in here at all. You may just block it, so then they would just get an error on their website where they're trying to post that image and take your bandwidth in the process. And here you can put the different types of extensions, whether they're just images or even PDFs or zip files or whatever. Most of the time though, this is just going to be to protect images, and that's why by default you've got the most popular image extensions here. And if you want to check this box here, you can. That allows direct request. Basically, if they enter the actual URL of the image into a browser, then the image would show. Myself, for true protection, I would just put in the URLs to my websites that have these images posted on them and just leave it at that. Make sure that I've got enable checked, and then if I do make any changes here, click on submit, and also make sure I've clicked enable, and then that hotlink protection is activated. So that's hotlink protection. And under leech protection, this is pretty cool, especially if I've got like some outsourcers, people that I trust to do some work on a particular directory or folder, and I give them username and password access to that folder, and then they turn around and give that information to some of their friends. Well, with Leech Protect, I can put a stop to that. Let's go ahead and click on this guy right here. Let's assume that's the directory that I've given access to. Well, I can put in here a number of login attempts that once exceeded, something's going to happen. So if we put in, say, 4, which is recommended, you can put in whatever number you want. But if we put in, say, 5, and the 6th person tries to log in within a specific amount of time, in this case a 2-hour period, then that 6th person and anybody thereafter will get something other than access based on this information that I put down here. They might get redirected to another URL that I've got set up. The account might be deleted altogether if I check this box here. And I would definitely want to check this box and put in the email address to me so that I would be alerted each time that this took place. And I also have this option down here where I can disable compromised accounts, where basically if this were to take place, then I would get an email alert. They would also, the people after this login attempt would also be sent to a particular URL that I had set in here, but that account would also be disabled altogether. And then just make sure you click on enable to make that active. And of course, then you can come back in here and disable it if you wanted to. Now let's head on back home here. And GNU PG keys. These are used as a way to encrypt and decipher or decrypt emails or messages through the use of the public and private keys. You know, kind of like everyone would have the public key to my emails and can see the messages or emails, but could not read or know what all that gobbledygook was without the private key. If you take a quick look at this, you can create a new key. Just put in your name, email, nickname, whatever you wanted to put in there, and the key password. Put it in again. I would just use the password generator here. and the expiry date if you wanted to go with 1 year, 3 weeks, or just whatever you wanted. The key size, 1024, or you really want to get hairy, you can go all the way up to 4096. That's pretty difficult to guess. And then you can click on Generate Key. Or if you've got keys created elsewhere, you can use the import option here. But this is pretty heavy duty. So if you're not really into the spycraft and you're not really concerned with people having that kind of access to your emails, because I mean it's fairly secure for the most part, but if you are really super concerned about the possibility of somebody reading your emails, then you've got this option here. And don't forget, some of these items where I just kind of skimmed over, you've got the video tutorials here which might go into greater detail than what I covered on these individual items. For example, under the IP Deny Manager, just check out the video tutorial here, which might go over more in depth than what I did. And that's going to bring us to the end of this video on the security panel. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day. In this video, I'm going to show you how easy it is to create a password-protected directory or folder. That way you can keep all of your goodies in there that you don't want anybody getting access to unless you give them a username and password. Now it's pretty simple. Once you log into your cPanel control panel, scroll on down a little bit till you get to the security panel and then click on the Password Protect Directories icon. And that'll bring you into this area here where you can see I've already got this particular folder password protected, and you've got the little icon over here that shows a little padlock. So that's what it looks like once you get one protected. So let's go ahead and create a folder and then password protect it. Let's come on back home here. We're going to go into the File Manager. Now this is of course if you already don't have a folder or directory you want to protect. I'm going to go ahead and create one from scratch. And let's click on Create Folder. And there we are. Now then, we'll go ahead and get out of here. Let's go ahead and take a look at that folder in an unprotected state. I think I capitalized those. We'll see. Yep, there we are. And inside of that is nothing. It's an empty directory. So at this point, with it being totally unprotected, anybody can gain access to this. So let's go ahead and change that. Come on back here. Go into the security panel. Click on Password Protect. And now then, let's select that particular directory. Come on down here, check that box if you want to protect it. Don't check it if you don't want to protect it. And then give it a name. You can name it anything you want to. It doesn't have to be the same name as the folder you're trying to protect. There, I even have it as a different name. And then we click on Save. And now it's protected, but no one can have access to it because there's no username or password associated with this particular directory yet. Let's come on back here and test this. Now, if everything works out properly, a box should pop up asking for a username and password. Just like that. But since there isn't one yet, we don't have one to put in there, so we're going to cancel out of this, and that's what you're going to get. Let's come on back here and create a user and a password. And you're not limited to the number of users or passwords you can create for this. And you can either enter your own password here, or you can use a password generator to create a very strong password. And then click on Add Modify Authorized User. And there we are. That's the username. That's the password. Click on Go Back. And if you want later on to delete this username, just select it. Click on Delete User. Boom. They no longer have access. Now then, let's go ahead and come on back here and see about that box popping up there. Now I've got that password in my clipboard. Go ahead and paste that in there. And me. And this should get us back to the index page like this. And that's how simple it is to create a password protected directory. Thank you very much for watching, and you have a great day.